What's up, guys? This is Marcus from Bad Cat Media Group. Got a quick tutorial for you tonight on how I use VCC in my workflow. That's the Virtual Console Collection by Slate Digital. This is an amazing plugin, and it pretty much goes on every single thing I do these days. So I'm going to go over a typical situation, which is that I get some files in. I got to pump out a mix super quick, and it's got to come in. It's got to go out the door sounding better than when it came into me. So one of the first things I do is always I run VCC on everything. But you know, one of the key things to getting VCC to work right is your gain staging. So I want to just go over my workflow on how I go about my gain staging with VCC, and hopefully it'll be of some use to you guys. Okay, so I got a basic track here, which is a set of stems that was sent to me by a composer who I work with a lot. This is for this particular track is for a video game. So I'm just going to play it quickly. So these guys are already pretty much arranged. He's done a bit of pre-mixing. He's grouped some things together for me, and I'm just basically going to polish it. So the first step I'm going to take is I'm going to instantiate VCC on everything. So I'm just going to hop over to my mixer, and I want to show you guys a little shortcut here. Now, if you use the command here, you select this track, hold down Shift, select this. On a Mac, hold down Shift Option. I believe on a PC that's Shift Control. I'll have to double check that. I have the ability to instantiate across all of these plugins at the same time. So what I'm going to do is go to Slate Digital, Virtual Channel. Now what you're going to see happen is it's going to instantiate VCC on every single plugin, on every single channel. So the great thing about this is that it already comes up exactly as I need it. Now I want to show you how to do this if you don't know how to do this. Basically what I've done here is I've created a preset, and I just named it user default. If you go into this little arrow here, you have a category where you can say set as user default. And then once you set that, you have something in system preferences that says set plugin default to user settings. Meaning that when you instantiate this plugin, it's going to come up in the default that you have programmed, whatever you've assigned to user default. So if you wanted to assign a different type of processing, let's say you wanted to go with either the Trident emulation, Brit 4K, the Neve emulation, if you wanted to drive the hell out of this, whatever you want to do. So you could come up with as many presets as you want, have the proper processing on them. I have these guys already set up to come in a group mode. So meaning that all the tracks that I instantiate this across, they're going to be grouped together. Now, at that point, so that's a quick tip. It saves you going like this and bringing it down and setting those things up one at a time, and then creating, group enabling them, and then creating something. You can do it really quickly. And then on my mix bus, that's a simple scroll down, Slate Digital, virtual mix bus. I have my guys programmed to come up the way I like. I personally don't like my mix bus to come up in the same group assignment because I might choose to use a different type of console, or I might choose to back off the drive or anything. So my guys just usually come up and they default to RC tube with some gain. I just happen to fall back on that a lot. So after we've got this instantiated, the next step is gain staging. So what you do here is I'm going to select the track that I want to work on. I'm going to solo it, make a selection here. I can play it. Okay, so there's the signal that's coming in. I can see right across the bat that all these waveforms are pretty well even. So if I click Option, Command, and the right bracket, I can actually zoom these guys vertically if I want to see a bit more information. So now that I have this selected, pretty simple. I just bring up my plugin, and then having this selection, here's the trick. I use dynamic transport. So what that means is you hold down Control, Command, and P. Now what that allows me to do is have a different loop section and have the region selected in its entirety, meaning that it's going to play and it's going to loop as long as I have a loop playback. But my whole entire region is selected. What I can do now at this point is I can keep my eye on this needle, but more important than that, I can use my ears. if I click Control, Shift, and the up arrow, I have the ability to gain up this region, or I can bring it down using the clip gain function. So I can determine how hard I want to hit the VCC. I'm going to go a bit harder. I'm going to push it. Okay, right there is about the spot that I want to hit it at. I will say the sweet spot is at 0, but if you had everything hitting 0, your output's going to be really high. So now, using my keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to go down. I'm going to solo my next track. It's worth mentioning that I don't have this in latch mode. I have this in X mode. Once I got used to working with it in this mode, I found it to be a bit better. Okay, I don't need dynamic transport here because I have a high percussion stem going right across. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close my plugin window, which by doing Option Command W. Now I'm going to disengage dynamic transport, which is Control Command P. And now I'm playing this stem. I want to see what VCC is doing for this, where it's hitting. Okay, it's barely touching the needle. You know what? I want to drive this a bit further. I want to see what I can do when I push it. Again, a shortcut for bringing up the clip gain, Control, Shift, up arrow. Now, I'm going to default to my standard waveform view here. You know what? I'm going to leave it there. It's worth mentioning I'm obviously going to have to regain stage my mix with the faders after I've done this. Now that I've got this done, I'm going to use my shortcut, Option Command W to get rid of the plugin. I'm going down one step, Command S. This is a continuous waveform across, so I shouldn't have a problem getting a level. Open up my plugin, push play. You know what? I'm going to drive it. Too hard, bring it back. These are really quick settings here that I'm doing. Okay, again, my shortcut, Option Command W, closes my plugin window, colon key, semicolon key, Shift S to solo, and now I just simply have to click on my plugin. Now I'm ready to gain stage this. I can drive this pretty quick. Boom, sounds good. Now we're going to get a little bit faster here. We're going to go here. I'm going to push it. I like that there. Using my shortcuts again. Bringing this down. Bring up the plugin. Okay, I'm going to push it. I like it there. Next step, close my plugin, Option Command W, semicolon to move down. Shift S gives me my solo. And now simply just to click on the plugin brings up the window, play. Okay, I like this guy and I want to push this one. Okay, now that I've got everything gain stage, I'm going to close these plugins down. I'm going to do a Control, Option, Command, up arrow, which allows me to see all my tracks. I can obviously tell you right now that everything is going to be a lot hotter on my mix. I'm going to hop over to my mixer window for a sec, and we will unsolo this track. Let's see where we're sitting on our mix bus. It's actually not that bad. Okay, I'm going to pull up the mix bus plugin now, and what I'm looking for here is gain staging this into here. Okay, I'm running really hot. I got this thing pinned. So if you notice on my mixer here, I have two master faders. One, main mix, which is my main outputs, and the other one is set to mix bus 1. You can see that I'm bussing out all my tracks to a mix bus through an aux, because I like to print internally in the session. This will then be output to an audio track as opposed to bouncing a disc. So, what's the reasoning here behind this extra fader? Well, if you got a good mix going and everything's happening good and nothing's really clipping on the channels, but you kind of come to the mix bus and everything's kind of freaking out. Well, it's a pretty easy way is I can pull this back and I can get it hitting my mix bus exactly. Because what I do with this fader determines how hard I'm driving into this mix bus. So as an example, let's start it. I'm pinned. I'm going to pull it back. Okay, I don't mind going a little bit into the red, but I don't want the whole thing pinned. I don't want to totally oversaturate it because I'm going to do some additional processing, so I want to leave lots of headroom. Now, it's worth mentioning that I would never do that. This is mainly here as a safety net. I'm always pretty anal when it comes to my gain staging in that even if I'm running VCC and I'm driving each individual channel, what I might do at that point, if I've driven it too hard, is pull up an actual trim plugin and pull it back. So if I know that I've driven this guy and I've just pushed it way too hard, you know what? I might take a -6, which is another way to look at it. I can take -6 or I can take -8. I can throw this up here. I can then, by holding Control Option, I can copy this across each single track. And now what essentially I've done is I've driven the VCC to get the saturation and color that I want, but I've now backed off the gain, which is happening after VCC, so that my faders are representation of the initial mix. I can then at that point bring this back to unity gain, and my mix bus is going to be hit at a much more respectable place for what I want to do, leaving me my headroom for additional processing. Let's play it. I might say to myself, you know what, I can hit that a little bit harder, and I can do that by bringing up the drive here, or I can go back to my handy master fader that I've created by my mix bus, and I can push this. You know what, I like that. I'll leave it there. I have more than enough headroom there. So this is an excellent way to work. Now, once you do this really quickly, you're going to get used to it. It's going to save you a lot of time. So basically what you're looking at, bringing up VCC, finding a preset that you like to work with. You might always like to have the Trident console emulation. Maybe it's the Neve emulation, the SSL, the RC tube, whatever it ends up being. You come up with your settings, group on if you want them to all be grouped. And then it's basically a matter of shift clicking the tracks that you want, shift option, and selecting Slate Digital, and it's going to put that on. Whatever your user default is set to, if you keep in mind what I was mentioning earlier, it's going to bring that up. So I have my user default. I just named it user default. You get a setting you like, set as user default, down to system preferences, set plugin default to a user setting, and then whatever you open up, it's going to open up with that already instantiated. So that's my quick tip. It's how I gain stage using VCC. I can do this exceptionally quick. I can have a mix. I can have stems come in the door. I can bring this up in the time that it takes me to import them and get them here. I can go through, give them a really quick go through, get my gain staging done, and then I can rough together a mix and have something out the door in no time that beats the mix that I was given. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tip, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.